What if king is in check, but every escape square is blocked by its own pieces? Today, I've got 6 real game positions where smothered mate decides the game. Let's start with position 1. Position 1 is white to play, and white is completely winning. When Jan Timman started his attack with e7, attacking the rook e8, and now that was the whole point. Queen to c4, giving a check. King is having only one option. King h8, knight to f7 check. King is left with only one option. King g8, and now knight to h6. Double check. Queen and knight both attacking on the king. So again, king has to go back in the corner. King h8, and now queen to g8. Rook has to take it. That's a force move. Rook takes queen. Knight to f7. Checkmate. The knight gives the final check, and black's king cannot move anywhere. The rook on g8 blocks its own king. The knight controls the key squares. The king is completely boxed in. This came from Jan Timman versus Nigel Short from Tilburg 1990. This is the pattern we are studying today. Hello everyone, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master, and this is Chess Tactics episode 20. Today's pattern is Smothered Mate. Smothered Mate happens when a knight gives checkmate and the enemy king is trapped by its own pieces. King may look safe because it has pieces around it, but those same pieces become a prison. Let's understand it better with a simple example. So here we got this position where materially black is completely winning because he has a rook against knight, but it's white to play, and if you have observed already, the king is boxed out and there's a knight on the board as well. So in this position, white continue the game with queen takes h7 check. And yes, white is sacrificing a queen. And king can't take it because knight is protecting the queen. So queen has to take it. And now that was the whole point. Just deflecting the queen so that you have that f7 square available. And here, white finished the game with knight to f7 checkmate. And that's it. Game over. Black is the one who got 10 extra points of material, completely winning. But in chess, king matters, not the material. If you enjoy practical chess tactics, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's test the same idea in 5 more real game positions. Position 2, it's black to play, and black is completely winning. So pause your video here and find the best move for black. This came from Edward Lasker versus Israel Albert from New York 1946. And in this position, black started his attack and played queen to a5, just simply saying to white that I am coming for your king. He defended the king with knight to d2. Black continued the game with queen to e5 check. And now the only best move in this position is bishop to e2. Just block it, give up a knight, and then castle and maybe hope for best. But unfortunately, white decided to protect everything and he played knight to e2, which is a blunder, and black finished the game on the spot and he played knight to d3 checkmate. The white king got boxed out by his own pieces. And that's the whole point of this pattern. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 3, it's white to play. This came from Unzicker, Ortvin from Siegen Olympiad 1970. And in this position, white is completely winning because he's having extra bishop. But black is putting pressure on this knight. And this knight cannot be saved because it is pinned to the queen. So white found a great idea to protect the knight, and he continued the game with bishop to f4. And now it looks like bishop is hanging because knight can take it, and after that he can take a knight, and the game should be equal. But unfortunately, this bishop on f4 cannot be taken. Black blundered the game and he captured the bishop. Knight takes f4 and now game over. Queen takes f7 check, king h8, and now queen to g8 check. And yes, by now you already know the idea. White simply gives up a queen and now rook has to come and take this queen and the game would simply finish with knight f7 checkmate. Black's on rook on g8 blocks the king and the knight finishes the game. This is a classic smothered mate shape. Queen sacrifice first, knight mate after. The queen sacrifice is not random. It forces the defender to occupy the escape square. Now, let's go to the next one.
If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now, let's continue.
Position 4, it's white to play. This one is easier if you already know the pattern. This came from Alexander Grischuk versus Ruslan from Torshavn International 2000. And in this position, white is completely winning because black's king is not safe, even though black is the one who got an extra pawn. So here, Grischuk continue the game with bishop takes e6, capturing a pawn, and his point is if bishop takes bishop, then he will take with a knight and put lots of pressure on g7. Then queen has to go back on f8 and he will simply win a queen and white is completely winning. So that's why he played bishop takes e6. But in this position, black blundered the whole game and black played rook takes d8. He was thinking that there's a free bishop and he should go and grab it, which he should not. And now white continued the game with queen g8 check. And now you know the pattern. Rook has to come and take the queen, then the knight will come to f7 and delivers a checkmate. The queen disappears, but the game ends. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 5, it's white to play. Find the move that starts the forced smothered mate. Pause the video here. This came from Klose versus Karsten from 75th German Championship 2004. And here, white is completely winning. The reason? Black's king is not safe. And in this position, white started his attack and played rook takes e6, simply sacrificing the rook. And the point is very simple. This cannot be captured because of the smothered mate. The reason? If f takes e6, there is a queen takes e6 check, king h8, knight f7, king g8, knight h6, delivering a double check. King has to go back on h8, queen to g8, sacrificing a queen, and it doesn't matter if knight takes or rook takes, the game ends in the same checkmate idea. In the game, he captured with knight, and now this knight delivered simple checkmate. You just need to be careful of just one thing in this pattern, and that thing is when you sacrifice your queen on g8, just make sure one thing that this square should be protected with the knight. The reason, if this is not protected with the knight, then king will simply take it and there will be no smothered mate. But when it is protected with the knight, then king can't take it and other pieces has to come and take it and then you only win the game. So be careful of this move. And yes, of course, this was a harder version because the mate does not start with queen g8 check. White first has to remove a defender, bring the queen into the attack, then force the king into smothered mate pattern. Now, let's go to the final position. Final position, this is the hardest one in the episode because the mate is not played on the board. Black resigns when the pattern appears. This came from Garry Kasparov versus Matthias from Baden-Baden 1992. And in this position, white is completely winning. But still, black has a chance to fight because he got two extra pawns for a knight. And he should continue the game with a5. And the main point is the queen is controlling this very specific diagonal which is required. But unfortunately, in this position, black blundered the game and he played queen to e2. And that unfortunately lost the game for black. And Garry Kasparov found the right idea and he played queen to d5 check. And now you know the pattern. King h8, knight f7 check, and in this position, black resigned the game. The point is very simple. If he goes back on g8, then there's a knight h7 check, king h8, queen g8 check, rook g8, knight f7, simply to checkmate. Or if after knight f7 check, he decides to give up a rook and played rook takes f7, that move also cannot save him. The reason, he's not gonna take a rook and blunder the game because that's also checkmate coming on f1. But now he's gonna deliver a back rank mate, which is a queen to d8, which comes with check. So rook f8, queen takes f8, and that will simply lead to checkmate. So that's smothered mate. The practical lesson is simple. When the enemy king is trapped by its own pieces, always look for a knight checks. When you see a boxed in king and a knight near the attack, check for smothered mate. And if the king is in corner, always look for the queen sacrifice on g8 or g1. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical tactics and comment which position was the hardest and tell me what move you found before I revealed it. I will see you in the next one.